Okay, are we about ready for this? I think we're about ready for this. Let's just take care of a few last things, and we'll be ready to go. Things like, where's my browser? Because I'm gonna need that. New window. Like, I need this website up, and I need this one. That should be about all I need. Sounds good. Switch over here, and starting soon is gone. Alright, hello! Shadowcat back, and we're doing another module today. We're getting started on a whole new project. Correction, Tuxedo. We are ready. We're getting moving now. I mean, there are some things that you just have to accept in life. For me, I must accept that I will never, ever be ready to start on time. The only other thing that I could do would be to start early, and that would just be awkward. But, hello to everybody who's in the chat right now. Hello, Tuxedo. Hello, Blizzard. Good to have you here. We are starting a new module today. We are doing a channeling magic module for Pathfinder. This is going to be modeled after the Wheel of Time. So, if you enjoy the Wheel of Time, you're going to have a good time here. If you have no idea what the Wheel of Time is, join most of the rest of the world. Because the Wheel of Time is kind of weird in that way. Like, it is one of the... No, it is... Correction. It is the biggest fantasy series... Fantasy book series, I should say. Period. Like, I don't know if they track, like, world records for the longest, series for anything. But by page count, by word count, the Wheel of Time is the biggest fantasy book series in existence. And yet, I had never even heard of it until, like, what was it, like, 10 years ago? And I never actually got around to reading it until, like, 4 years ago. And even then, I didn't actually read it. I got the audiobooks, which were fantastic, and I loved them. But still, for, like, the biggest series out there, it's surprisingly not well known. It's kind of weird, I guess. Like, everybody knows Harry Potter. Nobody knows the Wheel of Time. But then again, I guess in the same vein as that other book series that was recommended last time. What was it? The Sword of Fate? Or something like that? I don't remember. Tuxedo says, I'll be sure to never start it, for the same reason I won't start watching Bleach or Naruto. Well, because it never ends? I mean, ironically enough, all three of those have ended. The Wheel of Time has ended, Bleach has ended, Naruto has ended. Although in the case of Bleach and Naruto, they both kind of went off the rails there towards the end. You don't have that problem with the Wheel of Time. There's a big climax, don't get me wrong, it's great. But it doesn't go off the rails. It's very satisfying, actually. And yet still left just ambiguous enough to spark all kinds of flame wars in the comments section. So, things that we're going to need today. We're going to need everybody's favorite on these Sunday streams. The spreadsheet. Come on, let's all get excited for the spreadsheet. It's what we're here for. Everybody wants the spreadsheet. We're also going to need a browser. Like, if my only claim to fame on YouTube is that I can make spreadsheets fun, I'll take it. Alright, and that has to be repositioned. Up, 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 up. There we go. Yeah, see there, Tux has got it. Yay, spreadsheets! We all love spreadsheets! Okay. So, now that we got this, let's go ahead and set up the sheet that we're going to be working on. So, we're going to go ahead and we're going to rename this sheet Modules. There we go. Sheet number 2, we're going to go ahead and rename Wheel of Time Channeling Module. Bit of a long name, but you know what? It'll be alright. As a matter of fact, we can go ahead and even make this bigger. Don't worry, by the time we get done with all of these, this bar down here will just go all the way across the bottom. We won't even have a scroll bar anymore. Thankfully, we're using OpenOffice Calculator, which means we don't actually need it, because we have a scroll wheel. We can go up and down. And if you hold down Shift, you can go left and right. And every spreadsheet that does that, in fact, every program that does that, that lets you shift and scroll for left and right, it's a good program. It's like the best program. You should always be able to shift and scroll left and right. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start by doing a little bit of formatting. And by formatting, I do literally mean formatting. So we want to format cells. We're going to make sure this is all text formatted. Tuck says, a fellow OpenOffice user. Well, okay, I use LibreOffice. I've actually never heard of LibreOffice. But hey, if it's basically the same thing, then it's probably great. I'll be honest with you, I learned Excel when I was in school. In fact, when I was in school, we had to learn the entire Microsoft Office suite. So I learned Word, and I learned Excel, and I learned PowerPoint, I learned Access. What else did I learn? That's really the only ones that I got to know. But the fact is that even though I got to know them, and I actually do love Word and Excel. I think they're great programs. They're not like $200 a year good programs, okay? They're not gonna cure my blindness. They ain't worth that much money. So, I am now absolutely a priest of the OpenOffice. Not only do I use it, but I will preach its virtues from the mountaintops. OpenOffice is every bit as good as Microsoft Office, and it's free. And it's based on Linux, which means that 99.9% of the time, it just works. It's not perfect. It's not as polished as Microsoft Office is. Okay, it doesn't have the same sheen on it. It's not as pretty. But it's free, and once you learn the slight differences between them, it's every bit as good. I recommend OpenOffice for everybody, including the people who already have Microsoft Office. Make the switch today. It ain't gonna hurt ya. Alright, so we're gonna start off with a title. We're going to go The Wheel of Time Channeling Conversion Module. Just because I want this title to be as long as possible. We're going to go ahead and, for that matter, I'm just going to spread it across all of these, to be honest. There we go. Select everything. I want everything centered, and I want everything bolded so I can actually read the damn thing. For that matter, let's go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. Also, Tux says he's on a slight vendetta against Microsoft. Who isn't these days? Microsoft can do literally nothing right. I mean, whether it's people getting pissed off over the fact that they literally that support is being cut off for Windows 7 and 8. Which, to be fair, 7 and 8 are really, really old. So, I mean, I kind of get why they're pissed off. But at the same time, it's really old. Then you got the people that are also pissed off over Windows 12, which isn't even out yet. All they have so far for Windows 12 is like some demos. And they have shown that Windows 12 is going to be even more focused on like the tablet environment, where they want to trade out all the menus and everything for like icons and just like press to hold to bring up menus behind those things. It looks bad. And then there's just like, even if you don't have a problem with Windows, maybe you just don't like Microsoft or Bill Gates, because, I mean, there's not exactly a short list to hate Bill Gates or Microsoft. Let's see. Tuck says it's an open source made to be used with Linux. It's available on most Linux repositories. My desktop uses Garuda Linux. My laptop uses Pop! OS. I'm not familiar with either one of those. I did a little bit of Linux work when I was in college, and I used Ubuntu, and what else did I use? I want to say Phoenix, Fire Phoenix, Redbird, something like that I think it was, but I don't remember. It was not Garuda, I know that, because Garuda is completely new to me. But I wonder if Garuda might have been an offshoot of that one. I don't know. No, you just said Garuda's Arch-based. Pop! OS was Ubuntu-based. Probably means that I could, with a little bit of a refresher, walk into Pop! OS. I don't know. No, it wasn't Red Hat, I don't think. It didn't, you know what? I can't say that because I don't remember well enough. It might have been Red Hat. I would have swore there was a bird involved there, but maybe there was a third system that we played with. I don't know. Either way, I remember I learned some of Linux, and I enjoyed what I did. Because I grew up with computers, literally, meaning that I was in elementary school when DOS computers were just making their way into different schools and stuff. So I grew up learning on command consoles. And then when Windows 95 came out, I got experience with that. The very first home computer my family had was a Windows 95 machine. When Windows 98 came out, we got a pirated copy of that, which was fun. We even endured, yes, we did, we endured Windows Millennium. Most people have forgotten it existed, but no, it existed. I remember it. We had Windows ME. We did have Windows 2000, we had XP, and that was the last family computer because after that I had my own. And so I had Windows XP. When I went to college, for the brief time that I was in college, I got a laptop that had Windows Vista on it. After that, No, I did have a Windows 7 computer. I skipped Windows 8 altogether. I never had a Windows 8 computer. I had a laptop with Vista, I had a desktop with 7, and then when 10 came around, I avoided it as long as I could until eventually they just kind of forced updated all Windows 7 computers to 10, and then I had 10. And 10 was... Windows has been going downhill a lot. So, yeah. I mean, I long for the days when I was able to get into my computer and literally see every single process that was running. Now I open up my task manager, and it's like, you're using 60% of your memory. It's like, really? Okay, hold on. Let me get a calculator out. Let me start adding up all of these memories. Let's see. We got 63K here, 64K here, 127K here, da-da-da. And I have 16 gigs. This does not add up to 60%. So where's the rest of it? What are you hiding from me, Windows? Blizz says ME was awful. Tuck says if you have an old laptop, give Garuda a try. Linux isn't as easy as Windows, but there's been a lot of improvements. Here's the thing. The ease of it is actually not the thing that is keeping me back from switching to Linux right now. The thing that's keeping me back from switching to Linux is the fact that almost everything I do is Windows based. All of the games that I like to play are Windows based. And most of them will not run through Wine. Many of them will. I'm not going to say that all of them won't. Many of them will. But not all of them. And things like Adobe Premiere will not work. I mean, unless something has changed that I don't know about, it will not work. And I'm not ready for DaVinci yet. I'm still rather new, relatively speaking, to this whole video editing thing, and even my video editing is nothing special. My average videos don't get a whole lot of editing done to them. I'm not one of those YouTubers who will throw memes into every episode, and sound effects, and different filters, and all kinds of stuff like that. So my video editing skills are not a lot. What I do tend to experiment with is my intros and outros. I try to at least learn something new with every intro and outro I do, which if you follow my humble monthly spotlight, you'll see that over time, all of my intros have been getting better, more complicated, better visuals. They get better over time. I'm learning. But I'm not at a point yet where I'm confident enough with Adobe to say, I'm going to ditch Adobe now and then jump to something that is still relatively new on the market and have to learn everything over again. I'm not there. I'm not confident. Someday, maybe. Goodness knows, Premiere is expensive as hell. And I would love to not have to pay every single month for Adobe Premiere. It's awful. I really miss the days when you could just buy something. But no, that's not profitable enough anymore. That's a rant, though, that I don't want to get on, because, believe me, I could rant on that one for a long time. Long time. And I don't want to, because, like, we're here to have fun. And me going down memory lane, that's kind of fun. Me working on this conversion module, that's fun. Me ranting on the subscription model and the declination of the online business, yeah, that's not going to be fun. I mean, we could do a lecture on that. Lecture days are good for things that aren't fun. Tuck says, Kden Live is Linux's answer to video editing. It's free and I advise continuing the use of Adobe. I advise the use of Adobe too, for now. Like, I would never advise using Adobe forever unless you work for, like... One of the interesting things is, has anybody else out there seen the TV show Archer? I love Archer. Archer's great. Like, I look forward to a new season of Archer whenever it comes out. It's one of the few series that I actually own on Amazon. So I don't actually have, like, a physical copy of it, but I have all the seasons available. And one of the things that I thought was really cool is when they showed all the behind-the-scenes stuff, they showed the editors, and I'm just like, there, I see what they're doing. They're using Premiere. I know what they're doing. I understand some of the stuff. It's like, that's cool. But at the same time, I mean, this is a multi-million-dollar studio operation. They can afford it. Premiere is not cost-effective. Still, I got really excited because it's like, oh, I actually feel like an important person. We're using the same tools. It must be the same way a child feels when they get their first hammer. It's like, I have a hammer just like Daddy's. I'm important now. I never had that feeling when I was growing up because I was garbage with a hammer. And my father with a hammer could craft the Ark. Yes, Noah's Ark and the Ark of the Covenant, both of them, with the same hammer, at the same time. I did not get that gene. But still, it was a special feeling when I saw it. Alright, so, why don't we get started on this for a little bit? Before we can even get started working on the module itself, we have a few base rules that we need to put down. And they're not necessarily rules for the module itself, but rules for Pathfinder. So when it comes to Pathfinder, where's my browser? This browser. We have to go ahead and disable some things. Particularly, we are going into the magic system, and we're going to have to disable all magic. So, no spells, no magic items, as it were. We're going to have to disable classes. Those are going to have to be not the bard, because we're going to need bards so that we can have gleemen. And court bards are actually technically a thing. It's just the main character in the Wheel of Time is a gleeman, which is like one step below a bard. However, cleric, druid, disabled. Let's see. Fighter is fine. Monk is fine. Paladin will have to be disabled. So, paladins and sorcerers. We also need to disable wizards, obviously. Alchemists mix things. So, in the Wheel of Time, they have the, oh, what are they called? I think they have a special name, but they're the Fireworks Guild. They know the mysteries of gunpowder and how to actually make those into fireworks of various colors, and it's very nice. So we're going to keep alchemists. Cavaliers are mounted classes, gunslingers. Gunslingers are weird. Because during the series of the books, the secrets of gunpowder are only known by the guild. Is that the Firelight Guild or something like that? I don't remember. Before the book series, there's no indication that they have the knowledge of gunpowder unless you go all the way back to the Age of Legends. And in the Age of Legends, well, first off, it was a utopian period, so they didn't really need guns. Secondly, the technology that they had access to was beyond what we have now. Meaning that they probably had access to laser weapons, plasma weapons, things like that. Meaning that they would have had access to gunpowder, but they wouldn't have needed it. And JP's in the house. Hello, JP. Now, obviously, as I just said, in the book, the guild controls that. However, after the book series, the secret to gunpowder is out. Meaning that a gunslinger could absolutely be on the table. So we'll leave the Gunslinger in there. Inquisitor has to be left in there. It has to be left in there if for no other reason than the White Cloaks. Okay, Tux. Minor spoiler. But the Wheel of Time takes place in our world. Now, that is a very minor spoiler, but it doesn't really spoil anything except for the revelation that, hey, we are the same world. So, if that's going to bar you from, like, reading the whole thing, then sorry. But the Wheel of Time takes place in the Third Age, if I remember right. I think they call it the Third Age. Yeah, a wind rose in the age, some call it the Third Age. Yeah, so this is the Third Age. Now, it's implied, but never stated, that the Age of Legends was the Second Age. And that is when humanity had the one power. We were able to build great machines and great infrastructure, and we lived in a peaceful utopia where every need, every want, every desire was all fulfilled. So that was the Second Age. It's implied that by extension, what we're living in now is the First Age, where obviously we don't have the one power. We don't have magic, as far as we know. So they didn't skip anything. We're in the part right now. And the idea behind the books is that, you know, if we live long enough, we will discover these things ourselves, and it'll lead us into our own utopia. Because that's the idea of the Wheel of Time. It's all happened before, it's happening now, it'll all happen again. So, yeah, nothing skipped, it's all there. Inquisitor, we gotta have the Inquisitor because we gotta have Children of the Light. And the idea that we could actually have a Child of the Light who is just an Inquisitor, like really specialized Inquisitor, that's great. Okay. Magus. Right out. A Magus is a wizard fighter hybrid where they kind of cast their magic through their weapons. So instead of casting a fireball, they would just cloak their own sword in fire and burn you from the inside out when they stab you. Fun. Oracle. I'm inclined to kind of leave the Oracle in, except that they don't get spells. So for oracles, they have all of these mysteries. So let's see. For the Ancestor, the Revelations, you can summon a simple weapon, simple or martial weapon from your family's history that is appropriate for your current size. You're considered proficient with it. Let's see. At the 15th level, it's that. I don't know. This sounds a little bit too close to magic. I mean, it was shown in the books that if the Aes Sedai wanted to summon a weapon, they could. But they didn't, because when you can throw fireballs and call lightning, why would you want a sword? Okay, so no, Oracle's going to be out. Now, there were Aes Sedai who did have what was called the Foretelling. And perhaps we can work in a way to make that happen, but the Oracle class is just going to be right out. Shifters. Shifters are literally just that. They're shapeshifters. They're out. Summoners, out. We're not having summoners. The Vigilante is basically a street fighter. It can stay. Witches. Witches are out. And Vampire Hunters. And no, Tuxedo, we are not making a new class with the Oracle as a template. To give you kind of a spoiler as to what I'm going to be doing, we're actually going to be making a template. What we're going to have to do is, we first have to decide one of two things. When it comes to the Wheel of Time, only about 1% of the population on the high end is even capable of touching the one power. Now, of those, that 1% who can even touch the one power, 8 out of 10 people will not know it. So the way the White Tower in the Wheel of Time works is they go all over the world looking for girls who can channel. And they come in one of 2 flavors. 3 if you want to be technical. The first of which are the girls who have a natural ability for it. In other words, they can just do. They don't really need a ton of instruction to be able to reach out and touch the power. They can already reach out and channel Sidene. And they need to be guided, because if they're not guided, then bad things can happen. The second type, however, and by far the more common type, are those who can be taught to. They have the ability inside of them, but they never knew it. It never presented. They're usually not even very strong. But they can be taught to. So on a scale of 1 to 10, and we're going to use a much bigger scale. Let's see, JP asks, are we going to be channelers and warders? No. Not necessarily. That does not mean that it could not be done. All we're going to be doing is making the channeling module to insert it into the game. What we do with it from there, that's a different question. But anyway, as I was saying, the majority of girls that are found can be taught to channel, which means that they have the ability inside of them to connect to the source. They can be shown how to reach the source and channel the power, and then they need to be taught, now that you know you can reach out and touch it. Now we need to teach you how to channel it, how to weave it, how to manage the flows, how to do everything one step at a time. Whereas people with the spark, they just kind of know this stuff instinctually. So 8 out of 10 people are the ones who can be taught how to channel. 1 out of 10 are going to be people born with the spark. They just know. So that's 9 out of 10. The last 1 out of 10 are going to be called, somewhat derogatively, wilders. Those are people who have the spark, but were never found. And because they were never found, and they were never taught, they have all of these powers that they learn to use on an instinctual level. So think about it. Think about trying to start a fire, okay? Think about it as trying to start a fire. So you've gathered your wood, okay? You go out, you gather wood. You gather your kindling, you've got your tinder to catch the spark, you've got your logs to throw in the fire once it gets going. Your average normal person is going to sit there with a flint and a steel, and they're going to spark until the tinder catches, and then they'll feed it with a little bit more tinder, then they'll add kindling, and they'll build a fire. Somebody with the spark would simply look at the fire and say, "You are lit." And they wouldn't need tinder nor kindling. The logs would just burst into flames because they thought it. And in thinking, they simply did it. It was an instinctual maneuver from like one step to the other, and they just went open to the source, channel weaves of fire, light the logs. That easy. Somebody who can be taught, and this again is the 8 of the 8 out of 10. They can be taught that you got to build a fire, okay? So they would go out and they would gather everything they need for the fire, just like any normal person was. And then they would sit there and say, okay, deep breath. Open myself to the source. Let it fill me. Find the flame. Channel the flame. Weave the flame. Channel it into the tinder. Light the tinder. And done. The tinder's now lit. And then they would feed the tinder with a little bit of kindling, and they would build the fire that way. They're essentially just skipping the spark because they are the spark. So where do the wilders come in? The wilders have no idea that they can do what they do. So what a wilder would end up doing is they would say, I'm cold, okay? I'm cold, I'm wet, I'm miserable, I might even die here. I need a fire. So they will go out because they don't know anything else to do. And they will gather wood. Maybe it's in the snow, maybe it's whatever. But they'll get like some birch bark and they'll start shredding that into fine hair so that they can get some tinder. They'll get some branches from higher up that are dry enough that they think they can use them as kindling. They'll get some logs that are maybe kind of rotten, but it's the only logs they can get. And they'll roll all this over to get started. They'll pull out their flint, they'll pull out their belt knife, and they'll strike it. But because they're a wilder and they don't know that they can channel, because they need it so desperately, they may channel without realizing it. So instead of striking the flint and getting a few sparks off of it, perhaps they strike the flint and they channel earth magic instead, and they just obliterate the flint and turn it into an entire bath of fiery sparks. They break their flint in the process. However, the tinder is gone, the kindling is now, on fire, and the excess heat from their channeling has dried out the rotten log. And all they can say is, I broke my flint, because they have no idea what just happened. These are wilders. And it's because they don't know what they're doing that renders them so incredibly dangerous, and why the White Tower in the books wants them all rounded up so badly. Because they're like, you are dangerous. You could hurt somebody by accident. So you have like 1% of the world who can channel it all. And by the way, of the 1%, you got to remember that half of them are men. And men are not allowed to channel at all. So you're down to half of your 1% now. So out of the half of the 1% now that's allowed to channel, 4 out of 5 of them might not even know it. Half of 1% will have the spark. Half of the 1% will be wilders. You get the idea how channelers in the Wheel of Time are just so incredibly rare. But that's neither here nor there. That is going to be kind of important, though, because when we get started on the module, one of the first things that we're going to have to determine is how will people be chosen to be channelers. If we really wanted to do this the proper way, we would roll 1d100. And on a natural 100, you get to be a channeler. This also means that almost nobody is going to get to be a channeler. Authenticity is sometimes boring. So we'll have to discuss how we're going to do that. Anyway, let's get this done. Vampire Hunter. We don't have vampires. So, Vampire Hunter is out. Oh, and JP asks, will we be doing Ajas for special or for the specialties? We could. It's going to depend heavily on setting. Like if we're playing in the Randlands or in the Westlands, I guess, either during the time period of the books or afterwards, we can absolutely do Ajas for specializations. However, if we're going to play in the Aiel Waste, doesn't really matter, because they're not going to be there. JP says Trolloc Hunter. You know, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Okay, I'll hold on to that one, because I'm still going to disable the Vampire Hunter, but I'm just going to put I'll put an asterisk on it. Okay, there we go. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Alright, what else we got? Anti-Paladin. Basically just evil paladin. Anti-Paladins are stupid. To be fair, I don't let people play Anti-Paladins in my own games. Anti-Paladins are absolutely stupid. The idea of an Anti-Paladin is that you're supposed to be like the evil part of a regular paladin. So if a regular paladin is lawful good, the Anti-Paladin is like chaotic evil, but it's like, okay, so answer me this then. How does a lawful evil god have paladins if paladins have to be good? The answer is they can't be, obviously. Because if you're going to make them, if they have to be lawful good, then how do you manage this? So, because this is stupid, because it is very stupid, number one, I ban paladins from my game, or anti-paladins from my games. And my rules for paladins are this. Your paladin must match, it must match the exact alignment of your deity, and you cannot stray. So, if you have a neutral good deity, your paladin must be neutral good. Okay? If you have a lawful evil paladin or god, then your paladin must be lawful evil. End of story. It's that simple. Why did they have to make this overly complicated? So paladins have to be the exact alignment of their deity, and clerics can be one step away. So if you have a lawful good deity, then your clerics can be lawful good, lawful neutral, or neutral good. As long as it's only one step adjacent to what it is. That also means that if you happen to, worship a neutral god, which, I mean, there are a couple of neutral gods, that actually gives you 4 steps. You can be true neutral, or you can be lawful neutral, chaotic neutral, or you can be neutral good and neutral evil. Those are my rules because they make sense, as opposed to these rules, which don't. Tuck says, anti-paladins can be done, but I've yet to see an official guide to be in a way that isn't absolutely cartoony. Yeah, anti-paladins are just done. They're just like, hey, I'm going to be evil paladin because grrr! It's dumb. Okay, ninja and samurai. I see no reason why we cannot have ninja and samurai in here. It's still the same world. I mean, I do believe that, well, okay, it's kind of hard to say because in the Wheel of Time, there was the breaking of the world, when all men went insane and channeled the full, well, I can't even say channeled the full power of their abilities, because they actually all exceeded their abilities. They channeled enough power to crack the planet in half, and they literally moved the tectonic plates. I think that the book is supposed to take place either in a European area or an African area. I'm not positive on that. But since it is the same world, all of those areas should still exist. Now, Japan might be underwater, but samurai and ninja, at least the idea of them, should still exist somewhere. I see no reason to exclude them. Okay, Arcanist, obviously gone. Arcanist. Same with the Blood Rager. Because Blood Ragers are just barbarians and sorcerers mixed together. They get to cast rage magic. No magic, no Blood Rager. Let's see. Brawler. Brawlers are fine. Hunters are fine. Investigator. What are you a combination of? Alchemist and Rogue. Yeah, you can stay. Shamans. Combination of Oracle and Witch. Yeah, you're out. Shaman's out. Skald is, I believe, a bard and barbarian. It's a barbarian. You can stay. Angry music. Ooh, somebody make a Skald that specializes in death metal. Bonus XP if you can actually scream it. Okay, Slayers. Ranger and Rogue, you can stay. Swashbuckler is a fighter and gunslinger. You can stay. Okay. So for the Shaman, it says it is a mix of Oracle and Witch. While you might think that that could be a wise one, the fact is we've already looked at the Oracle. The Oracle uses, like, actual legitimate magic. The Witch, on the other hand, uses patron magic, meaning that they have some kind of higher deity, which is kind of true when you think about the Wheel of Time, that grants them their powers. Now, while you could make a parallel allegory kind of thing to that being the source, I think it's stretching too far. So I'm going to say no shaman. Not by this definition, at least. Wise ones are almost absolutely wilders. The fact is that the wise ones, those who can channel, they do kind of get taught by the other wise ones around them. But I mean, who taught them? Who taught those before them? Wise ones are basically wilders driven to their natural conclusion. Somebody, someday, was going to figure this out, and then they were going to pass along their knowledge to the next generation. Whereas the White Tower has been doing this for so long that they've literally boiled it down to a mechanical science. I mean, there is a reason why the Wise Ones and the White Tower kinda hate each other. They're two sides of the same coin. And the War Priest is a cleric and fighter. He's out. War Priest. We're going to have none of that. Let's see. Occult Classics. I don't see any reason to have any of these in here. And Unchained, we're not even about the Unchained. So, Unchained, Occult. Alright, so these are out. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay. we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so JP asks where the Ogier fall. Okay. That is something that we're going to have to get into later on, because the Ogier are going to be a race. They are not going to be any kind of class. They are going to be their own race, and all of their abilities will be racial abilities, not class abilities, meaning that if you wanted to have an Ogier fighter, you would have an Ogier with all of its racial abilities and everything else, and then you would have the class on top of it. Similarly, you could have an Ogier Ranger or anything like that. Ogier will be their own thing. And you cannot tell me that Ogier cannot be a fighter after seeing what Loyal can do with an axe. So we'll go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Now that we've got this done, we'll go ahead, merge and center that. Select all of this. We'll put a box around it. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing here. There we go. Now, Tux, I did see what you said earlier. You were talking about using a 1d10 instead. And I'm not opposed to that. That would basically make it a 10% chance of being able to channel. But you are the heroes, so you're already above average anyway. Having a 10% chance to get this would be, I think, acceptable. I think it's a good place to start at least. Now, the way this is going to work is because all of these classes have been disabled, and because we're going to build essentially what's going to be a template module for channeling, it's going to mean that there's going to be a potential that you could have your character, which is probably going to be human because we don't really have all the other races. I mean, perhaps I should make that really clear right now. Yeah, actually we may as well go ahead and do this. We're going to go playable races. Because we're going to just disable all the races except for human and Ogier. If I could spell. Ogier is supposed to be really rare, but if you wanted to play it, then I'm not going to say no. I don't think there's anything else we really need to worry about, because even though we do see things like Trollocs, ain't nobody playing a Trolloc. Sorry, if you thought you were going to play one, no. Nobody gets to play a Trolloc. I got apple juice. Apple juice is good. Okay. I'll leave this as it is for now. I don't want to go through and build an Ogier at the moment. So, here's what I think we're gonna do. The first thing we have to do is determine whether or not your character can even channel. And then, how strong can your character channel? So we're going to go with channeling ability. So we're going to go with ability, and we're going to say 1d10. So you roll that and it'll be on 10. So you roll a 1 through 9, you do not have the ability to channel. You roll a 10, you've got the ability to channel. Next, we're going to need, let's see. How do we want to do this? So we need to make some kind of differentiation between whether or not you had the spark, you're a wilder, or if you were just taught, like, on average. And what I think it's going to be is it's going to be this, okay? What we're going to do is this. We're going to say... What do we want to call it? I'm just going to call it source for the moment. Source is going to be a D10 as well. So we're going to say 1 will be a wilder. 2 through 8 will be taught. Wait, 2 through 9. What am I doing? Two through 9 will be taught, and on a 10, you have the spark. So the obvious thing here is that if you are a 2 through 9, then you will just be able to channel as normal. Your ability to channel will be determined by whatever we decide is going to happen next. If you are a wilder, you will get a penalty, and if you have the spark, you will get some kind of bonus. Now, in the books, wilders tend to have things like blocks, meaning that you will probably have a failure rate if you are a wilder. Whereas if you have the spark, you will probably get a bonus in power. Since this is all dice rolls, it's not going to be fair. The Wheel of Time is not fair. So let's just go ahead and get that right out of the way now. The Wheel of Time is not fair. It's kind of set up in the very premise of it. So that means that you might really want to be a channeler. Maybe you can, but maybe you end up being a wilder and maybe nothing works for you half the time. Sorry. I'm not one of those DMs that likes to mollycoddle my players and say, oh no, everything you want, I'll let you have it. I have no problem telling my players no. So, now that we've got that, now we need to determine power. Now, this is going to get a little bit complicated because I think I'm going to have to make this up all on my own. The Wheel of Time actually does have a power scale for its people. And unfortunately, their power scale is batshit insane. So, let's see, fantasy literature, I mean, it's got to be in here, right? Explorer, main pages, no characters, no books, TV series. Isn't there just like one page on the one power? Man, your wiki's kind of terrible. Wait, here we go. Maybe I can get to it from here. So, Aes Sedai... Ah, here we go. One power. Strength. Okay. Scales of power. Now, see if you can comprehend this, because I sure as hell can't. So, on this scale, the highest level a man could achieve was ++1. The highest level a woman could achieve was 1 + 12. the lowest possible level for both was 72 or 60. Of note, despite the disparity in maximum strength between the genders, it was possible for a woman at 1 plus 12 to be roughly equal match for a man at plus 1, as women possess greater innate dexterity with weaving than a man. However, this relative lack of dexterity could be overcome through practice. Did that make any damn sense to anyone else? And by the way, once you see the chart, it doesn't get any better. Because here we go. Ishamael, Morden, Luz Theron, Randall Thor are all ++1. Agenor, Demondrad, Loghain, they're all ++2. So, like, as the numbers are getting higher, the power is going down? I don't know. And then it gets back down to 1 here, where we get Lanfear and Semirog. And this doesn't make a damn bit of sense. I mean, I kind of understand what they were going for, but this is stupid. This is very stupid. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to borrow it. We're not going to take anything from it, okay? We're starting over from scratch. So what we're going to do, is, for the time being, we're going to say, we're going to call it potential. And the potential will be a 1d100. For now. Because we're also going to have to work out how we're going to do the magic system here before we can really fine-tune how the potential works. Because we're going to need potential, and we're going to need stamina. And the stamina for this is going to be partially based on your character's constitution, because using the 1 power, and especially overusing it, is physically exhausting. So it's going to be partially con-based, and it's going to be partially potential based. The real question is, how are we going to then assign ability points to this? Maybe we should skip ahead a little bit before we can work out the finer details of this. Maybe we should actually work on how it's going to work, because this is where things are going to get really complicated. Now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how it's actually going to work. So obviously, when it comes to the 1 power, we have the combination of fire, water, air, earth, and spirit. Now, men are stronger in fire and earth, and so they'll get a bonus there. Women are stronger in water and air, and they both get spirit. In equal measure. Not terrifically important at this exact moment, but still kind of important. Now, when it comes to magic in Pathfinder, there's not a whole lot that you need to do, not a whole lot of questions you need to ask, because it's all kind of spelled out for you here. Somewhere down here is magic. So they give you spells. Choosing a spell. So let's see. Oh, it doesn't actually show what book they use here. Yeah, that just shows the wizard. So, I mean, we've all played Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder or something like that before, we know how this looks. Every single spell you have, it tells you everything you need to know about it. So it gives you your casting time, your components, it gives you a range, an area, all of this stuff. I can't do that with the Wheel of Time because in the Wheel of Time, you just simply have power. And like the biggest part of being an Aes Sedai is learning how to take raw power and shape it into being what you want it to be. So we can't just have a whole list of these. We could, but there'd be two problems with it. The first of which is, there is no way we could write a spell for every single eventuality. And on the second level, the one power is very utilitarian. The same threads of fire being woven to explode a barn from the inside out could also be used to dry out your clothing. It's not a different spell, it's not a different weave necessarily, it's not a different anything else. The only difference is you're channeling a little bit of power here and a lot of power there. So, instead of having a list of spells, what we're going to need is we're going to need a form. So when I say a form, do we want this to be a point? As in, like, you want it to affect a single person or object? Do you want it to be a sphere, a cone, a cylinder? In fact, we should probably write these down. So we should have point, circle, sphere. We can have cone, cylinder, line, or chain. And JP says, and then we have balefire. Well, balefire is, as I'm sure you are well aware, just a weave. And if you get that, congratulations. If you don't, keep reading. I don't know exactly what the weave for balefire is, but I'm sure it wouldn't be hard to find out. I wonder if I can look that up real quick. Where's my phone at? I can use my phone for this. Let's see. Balefire, balefire. Balefire weave. Here we go. So, balefire is... yeah, that's what it does. Description. Yes, yes, yes. If you use too much of it, bale scream. Ah, the weave to create balefire with Sidene, and I don't understand why it would be different between the two of them. It uses fire and air. So that's it. All you need is fire and air, and you could use balefire, assuming, of course, that you knew how to. And given the destructive nature of balefire, I might be tempted to kind of restrict that one. Or at least make you figure it out yourself. Like, through random chance. Like, you attempt to channel balefire. Roll 1d10. And I mean, once you get it, I guess I can't really stop you from using it, but I can sure as hell make it hard on you. Also, I can punish you for using it afterwards, too. Okay, so, JP says Balefire is nearly forbidden because it's too powerful. It's not... It's not forbidden because it's too powerful. That's a bit of a misnomer. Balefire is forbidden because it's forbidden for the same reason that we in current times forbid the use of chemical and biological warfare. We don't bar the use of biological warfare because it doesn't work. And we don't bar the use of biological warfare because it works too well. We bar the use of biological warfare because we have no idea what is going to happen afterwards. You release a deadly virus onto a battlefield to infect and kill the enemy's soldiers. But you have no guarantee that it's going to be restricted to just the battlefield. Because it could infect people and get carried out, or the wind could blow and it could infect a nearby village. The knock-on effects of biological warfare, and for that matter, chemical warfare, as well as some standard munitions like landmines, the long-term effects of them are so drastic and dangerous that we no longer allow them to be used. Balefire is similar. Balefire, in the instance that it's used, is extremely powerful, but otherwise also extremely safe. In the books, we see it used many times. However, the reason why Balefire is banned is because they used it before. During the War of Power, Balefire was used a lot, until they realized that, you know what happens with the continued use of Balefire? The destruction of reality itself. At which point, nobody wins. So Balefire, you don't do it. It's not even a matter of too powerful, because even if you were to use small amounts of Balefire, like just one person here, one person there, I'm not even talking about like wiping out entire cities or anything like that with Balefire. If you just keep using it over and over again, things start to break down. So that's why. Because you can never predict what's going to happen afterwards. Okay, so back to this. We've got our form. Obviously, what's going to happen after form is going to be function. When it comes to function, we really only have two categories that I can think of, but if you can add one more, then I will be open to it, and that is going to be utility or destruction. And I go back to my fire example. A weave of fire can be used to light a fire or dry a cloak. It could also be used to light somebody on fire or destroy a building. So I think that function is something that really needs to be considered. But if you can think of something else to add to this list, then that's great. So now that we've got form and function, I think something that we're going to need is then going to be range. Now, range will be a sliding scale. It'll require you to use more power to reach further. You could touch a candle wick and light it on fire with just a little bit of the power. You could light a candle on the other side of the room with a little bit more power. You could light one on the other side of the castle with a lot of power, and if you had all the power in the world, you could light a candle in the next town over. However, at the same time, the amount of power you're using to light a candle the next town over might also be enough to destroy the castle you're standing in. So range will have to be a sliding scale. After range, of course, we're going to have area. Now, some of these calculations will be done for us. Some of them will need a little bit of, I don't know, they'll need a little bit of math, I think. But, for example, a single point, so just like attacking a person or object, your area is going to be basically 0. But if you're going to do a circle, we're going to have to start counting. A circle of, say, 4 grid tiles, well, that's going to be 4 points. A sphere is going to be basically 8 points, because it's going to be the circle on the ground plus, you know, the next 4 circles on top. So, there you go. A cylinder will just continue to go up from there, but it won't get any wider. Or you could do a circle, which would just be like a flat circle on the ground in the entire area there. This will make sense for some. It'll make less sense for others. For example, if you were to like churn the earth and turn it into just like a meat grinder, that would be a circle on the ground. Maybe we could consider it a shallow cylinder going under the ground as well. But area is something we'll have to consider. So form, function, range, area. What else do we need? We will need strength. And strength should be pretty obvious. I think that's pretty much all we really need to use an ability. So with this, you could cast lightning and chain it from person to person, or you could cast lightning on a single spot, or you could even electrify an entire patch of ground. Same thing, you could use fire to light a campfire, or you could set an entire campground ablaze. This will be pretty good, I think. Alright, so let's work through some of this then. Let's start with forms. So what we're going to need is we're going to need to build a stamina cost. And the stamina cost will be equal to form plus function plus range plus area plus strength. And that doesn't really fit, but you know, whatever. So for form, I think we're going to start off with this very, very simple. Very simple. We're just going to say 1 point per square. Now, 1 point per square could actually be very genius because, by and large, all of these are going to be simple geometric objects. I mean, some of them will be a little bit more complicated than others, but basically, if you're covering a square, then we'll deal with it. When it comes to things like cones and such, because cones are kind of weird, we can argue over whether or not we want a certain square to be, hit or not. The 1 power can be shaped and molded. So, like, if you have a teammate who's on part of a cone that is kind of maybe half covered, half not, we could make an argument to say, yeah, you just kind of bend it around him or her. I think 1 point per square. As far as function goes, function will be utility. If I could spell today, that would be nice. Will be 1 point, and destruction will be 2 points per square. And JP asks, so Angreal, Sa-Angreal, Tur-Angreal, they will be multipliers based on mechanic. Yes. So, obviously not Tur-Angreal, because Tur-Angreal are different. But you get the general idea. What we're going to do is, when we see over here, potential, what we're going to do is we're going to say that you have a potential of, let me roll a dice here. So I'm going to roll a D100. Now, obviously, somebody with a 100 would be just god tier. But I rolled a 10, okay? I'm going to be a garbage Aes Sedai. So let's say that I have the I have a power or a maximum potential of 10, which means that the most power I will ever get out of the 1 power will be like a 10. I could technically push myself further, but my highest natural potential will be a 10. After that, I run the risk of burning myself out. So what are we going to do next? Well, we're going to need an Angreal, okay? So we're going to give me an Angreal. I have here a D10. And let's say that we're going to use a percentage multiplier. And we're going to say that any Angreal, because Angreal are the smaller of them, any Angreal will give you a less than 1% or a less than 1 times boost to your power. So I'm going to roll this dice. And it is an 8. Okay, I rolled an 8. So this thing can boost up to 80% of my power. That means that holding an Angreal, I could safely channel up to power 18 with no ill effect. So how does this change with other things? Well, if an Angreal would be anything up to 100%, we could use that same D10 to also say a Sa-Angreal would be anything over 100%. And perhaps we say that it would be a D20 plus, 100%. had a d20 and now I don't know where it went. Oh, wait, there it is. Found it. Roll a dice. I rolled a 6. Not my best roll. So, if we can say that a Sa'angreal would just be 100% plus a d20, this would be 100% plus 60%, meaning 160%. If my power was 10, 160% is 16. Add that onto my 10 potential, I can now channel at 26. Which is significant for me. Then again, if we do it again, and we just say, okay, my potential was a 10. What if we roll for somebody else? What if we say JP is now channeling at 60? Okay? JP's channeling power is 60. By default, JP's power is now 6 times my own. And even if I get my hands on a Sa'angreal, JP's power is still more than 3 times stronger than mine. Give JP the Sa'angreal, and now, let's see, 160% of 60? I don't even know what that would be. Weird math. Hold on, I'm gonna use a calculator, because I'm lazy. So 60 times... Or wait, no, hold on. Plus 60 times 1.6. Comes out to be 120? And I mean, that could be a lot of power, because when we look at the way we're doing magic here, we're going to say that, you know, function or form. That means that 1 point per square. So if you're just using a point, that's 1 point there. Function, let's say it was going to be destructive. So now it's going to be 2 points per square. So we're up to 3 points. Okay? If we're going to go with range. So range is also going to be 1 point per square. Area. Now, area is where you're really going to be able to get out there and just... Okay, actually, no, I see where I've made a mistake. Form and... Okay. This actually needs to be down here. Form actually doesn't seem to matter. We're just going to get rid of this. Form doesn't matter. So, function is 1 or 2 points. Range is points per square. Area is points per square. And then we get into strength. Now, strength is where you'll be able to just dump points however much you want. And so, how do we want to do this? Because flows of power can be very delicate or very destructive. I have an idea, actually. I have an idea. I'm going to go back to that wiki, because they might actually have something we can use here. And that is, there's actually a metric in the Wheel of Time that we can maybe use. And that is gateways. Do they show anything about gateways here? Yeah, here we go. So around the minimum strength level to be required to open a suitable gateway for traveling. The minimum strength for several women who know, or whom we know are strong enough to travel. So who do we got here? Ashaman Neil, Carolyn Nyozu. Do I actually recognize any of these people? I actually kind of don't. Because I'm really bad with names. No, I don't actually remember any of these people. Oh, that's not as helpful. However, what is important is, let's see, how about up? Julian Madome, no, 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 no. How about down here? I don't know any of these people. To be fair, the Wheel of Time is actually famous for its enormous cast of characters. Like, even people who are good at this can barely keep track of them without notes. And I'm not good at it, so I didn't even try. They would give you a description of a person like, this woman walks in and she's got this kind of face and she's wearing this kind of clothing. Any normal person's like, oh, I know who that is. And I'm like, I don't. Wait, hold on. Is that who I think it is? Is that... Ah, okay, there's Varen. Okay, I know Varen. So Varen is just a few points up from being able to cast a gateway. That gives me an idea. Let's go back to spells here. I want Conjuration, I think. Where do we get our first kind of portal spell with, here. So Conjuration. Let's see, we've got Secluded Grimoire, Construction. Okay, I don't see anything in level 1. Oh, also, I missed a chat. Tuck says, holding an angry owl not suggested. I believe it. Owls are dangerous. Let's see, Transmutation, level 2. And there's a reason why I'm looking at spells. I'll explain it once I find what I'm looking for. Let's see, a port object. No. Callback, no. Instant weapon, no. Summoning monsters, no. I don't see any kind of teleportation here. Maybe I should just look at teleportation. Fool's Teleport. That's an illusion spell. Conjuration. Ah, here we go. Teleport. There's Teleport. Teleport is a 5th level spell. According to the rules of Teleport, you can travel. See, range is personal and touch. It instantly transports you to a destination, which can be as distant as 100 miles per caster level. Per caster level. This is a 5th level spell. So if we go back and look at a wizard, you get your first 5th level spell, and wizards always get spells earlier than other people. You get your first 5th level spell at level 9. Meaning that according to Pathfinder rules, a wizard who gets teleport as early as they possibly can teleport 900 miles. That is a long way in Pathfinder terms, and being that these are both fantasy settings, that is a long way in Wheel of Time terms. I wonder. I'm going to borrow ChatGPT here for a minute. Okay. Two cities that are roughly 900 miles apart, Chicago, Illinois, and New York City. It says the driving distance is approximately 790 miles, but the actual distance depends on the specific route taken. Wait, okay, so that's... Okay. Not driving direct distance. Okay, better example. Austin, Texas, and Columbus, Ohio. So according to at least what ChatGPT is telling me, which ChatGPT isn't perfect, however, according to this, a wizard would be able to teleport from Austin, Texas to Columbus, Ohio instantly. I mean, I don't know how that translates into the map from the Wheel of Time, but that gives you an idea of range here. That's enough to literally gateway to almost anywhere within the Westlands, or hell, for that matter, even going into the Aiel Waste, maybe even going as far as Shara. I don't know inherently, but that's a long way. So, now that we've got this, and I'm going to explain now why this is important. The amount of power that you put into your weaves is going to affect the outcome. So, this is going to be kind of our middle point. This is a good middle point because this is 5th level magic. Of course, we have 4 levels under it, 4 levels above it. This is important because when you create magic in Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder, there are some rules that you follow. For example, almost all level 0 magic uses D3s or sometimes D4s, but usually it's D3s. Almost all level 1 magic uses D4s. So we're going to do this. We're going to go with... we're going to go with 1D4. Then we're going to go 1d6. Then we'll do 2d4. After that, that gives us 8. We'll do d10. We'll do hold on, 1d12. There is no way to get a 14. So instead, we'll do 2d8. That gives us 16. Then there's an 18, but we can't really do an 18. So we will do... I guess we'll just do 2d10. Now, the way this is going to have to work. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I actually need one more. So we're going to like move this down a little bit. So we've got 20, 10, 16, 8, 12, 6, 10. Well, we got 4. Well, hold on. 10 and... I guess we'll do 1d2 for that matter. Yeah, we'll do 1d2. That's fine. Alright, so how are we going to do this now? Well, for 1d2 damage, it's going to cost us 1 point. Then we can do... Well, you know, let's just do an increasing scale here. So, let's just do that. Now, we do this because I don't want there to necessarily be any benefits to using... I don't want to make it so there's any shortcuts. Like, you can get 1d10 here, but is there any benefit to you to doing 2d10 instead of 1d10? Actually, yes, there is. Because 2d10 here would cost you 10, whereas 2d10 here would cost you 8. And I like that. For 16, it would cost you 7, but to get 4d4s would cost you 8. That's good. 1d12 costs you 6, whereas to get 2d6s, it would cost you 3. 2d6s is actually kind of better than 1d12, I think. So we may have to redo this one a little bit. Okay, that's how we're going to do this then. We're going to go with 2d6 instead. What if we were to make this a little bit... okay. I don't want to make this any cheaper. In fact, I kind of want to make it a little bit more expensive. Alright, I'm going to jump this up a little bit and see what happens. Alright, what does it look like now? So we got 2d10, which costs 9, 1d10 costs 6. So now we're getting a pretty significant discount for the 20 mark. Now, it's going to cost you 12 here. Or wait, no, it doesn't. Ooh, actually... that doesn't quite work. Because now this costs 12 and this costs... or no, wait. No, that does work. This costs 12, this costs 9. So that's a 3-point discount if you go all the way up. Okay, that works. 16 costs 8. Whereas 4d4 would cost you 10, so that works. 2d6 costs you 7. Whereas 2d6 down here would cost you 8. I like that. 2d4 costs you 5. Whereas 1d4 would cost you only 2. Okay, so this is going up to 3 points. And I think we're going to get rid of this bottom one. And we're simply going to say it does 0. And it will not cost anything. Because this is basically going to be our utility tier. It doesn't do any damage at all, but it's not going to cost anything at all. This is going to be do things like if you wanted to open a door, if you wanted to light a candle, if you wanted to fluff up your cloak to make it look like, you know, it's billowing in the wind and make you look intimidating. This is all stuff that would do 0 damage under any circumstances, and it will cost you nothing. It also means, however, that you could stack these. So let's go back to the example I did before. Let's say that I wanted to cast a fireball, okay? Let's find out what it would cost to do an actual fireball. So fireball is evocation at the 3rd level. So fireball is this. The range is 400 feet per level, maximum. Range doesn't really matter, though, because we're going to cast it at whatever we want. JP says utility equals cantrip. Basically. Okay, so we're not going to use the full 400-foot range here. We're going to go with a 50-foot range, okay? So fireball. We've got form, function, range, area, strength. So the form will, of course, be a sphere. The function is destruction. Range. Let's just cast this at, well, what's a safe range? It is a 20-foot radius spread. We're going to call that a sphere. Because, you know, fire ball. It's a sphere. So if it's 20-foot radius spread, that means that we need to cast it at about 30 feet to be safest. We'll call it 40 feet, actually. So, 40 feet. By the way, this is going to be... let's see. 1 point per square. Let's just go ahead and make sure that we stipulate this. Each square is 5 foot. So the range is going to be 40 feet. The area is going to be a 20-foot radius. So... we're going to look up an area calculator because I don't want to do the math myself. Not saying I can't, just saying I don't want to. Circle is 20-foot radius. Wait, wrong one. So the result there is for a circle. That's not even a sphere, that's just a circle. Sphere. Okay. So a 20-foot radius sphere, excuse me. The area of a 20-foot radius sphere is 33,510 feet. Now, how do I turn that into squares? 33,510 divided by, because these will be cubic squares, we'll divide it by 25? No. 125? What's the area of a 5-foot cube? It's 125 feet. I was right. Not the best at math, but I'm not that bad. So divided by 125 to get the number of cubes comes down to 268 cubes. I hope I did that right. It still seems a little bit high. No, actually that sounds about right now that I think about it. So we're going to say 268. That's 368. 268. So the sphere doesn't add anything. This is destruction, so it is 2 points per the range is 40, so that's going to be 8 points. It's 8 squares. And the area is apparently 268 cubes. So that's going to be another 1 point per. So on its own, just to get the form, function, range, and area, that is going to be 8 plus 268 times 2 because it's destructive. That comes out to 552. And Tux says, you sure it's not easier just to record the 2D area? How many times is somebody going to really need the formation of a 3D area of a fireball? The answer to that is I have no idea, but I'm sure that the minute that I stop calculating it is the day that one of you is going to try and pole vault the damn thing. And don't tell me that you hadn't already thought of it, because I know players better than that. One of you is going to cast a fireball, the other one is going to have a 10-foot pole ready, and be already running when the fireball takes off. You're going to have somebody who is able to slow time so you can do the entire thing in slow-mo, and you'll have a bard on the other side to record the instance that you fly over the fireball, not even looking backwards at it. You do a 3-point landing, stand up, and walk away brushing the dust off of your coat. Don't tell me you're not going to do it, because I know players better than that by now. It doesn't matter if I say, you're literally going to need to roll 5 crits in a row on your acrobatics and your reflex save to pull this off, otherwise you're going to fall into the fireball. One of you is going to sit there and say, I could do it. Well, it's true. You just need distance from the center for that. But, I mean, I got to figure out how much area or how much power it's going to cost to cover the entire sphere. Otherwise, I'm just doing a flat circle that's vertical. Well, yes, but Tux, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm filling an empty area with fire. I'm filling an empty area with fire. That's the point. All right. So after doing my calculations, we're already up to 552 points, and that's before we add our strength. Because right now, we're filling the area with just warm. Now we have to go ahead and add the strength to it. So, a fireball does 3d6 damage to everything in the area. It is 3d6, I believe, isn't it? Yes? I can barely read this. I hate this. Where is it? 1d6 points of fire damage per caster level to a maximum of 10d6. Okay, so it's not set at 3d6. Where can you first get it? Your first 3rd level spell comes in at level 5. So we're talking 5d6 worth of damage. So if we look down here, we can do 2d6s plus a 1d6. That's going to be 7, 14, 18. 18 points. We'll add these together, so that's going to be 560, 570. So that's 570 points of power to cast this bog standard fireball. That's a lot. But, I mean, that's actually really good, because this is about the lowest numbers that we can make here. We can't really go down from 1s and 2s. So, now we know that instead of taking these numbers down, we're going to need to bring these up. And how are we going to do that? Well, let's think about this with the example of myself and JP. So, when I rolled my D100, I'm a 10. If I rolled JP's potential, why did I put an equal on there? JP was a 60. And just because I feel like Tux is being left out, let's roll a D100 for Tux. That says 43. So Tux's potential is a 43. So if we wanted to sit down and figure out stamina, what we might be able to do is, what if we multiplied your potential times your constitution? So let me go ahead and let's roll some constitutions. And Tux says, I are weak. You're better than me. Let's see. So, my con, JP, con, Tux, con. And for this, we'll go ahead and use my standard, which is 1d9 minus 1. And then we just add 10. So my con is an 11. I'm just chugging along here. JP's con is a perfect 18. Screw you, dude. And Tux's con is also an 11. I hate you so much right now, JP. I just can't even say it. Okay. So, we got this. My stamina, JP, stamina, Tux, stamina. So what if we just do a simple multiplication? So for me, I have, well, I don't even need a calculator for mine. I have an 11 constitution and a 10 potential. Done. For JP, however, that is 60 potential times 18. And that comes out to 1080. Tux, on the other hand, has a 43 potential times an 11, which comes out to a 473. So there's our numbers. Here's our stamina pools. Now, how is this useful? I'll tell you exactly how this is useful. Let's take a look at our bog standard fireball here. Now, this fireball here is going to do 5d6. Let's see, this goes down to 18 there. It's going to do 5d6 worth of damage. That is a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 30 points of damage. That is nothing to scoff at. And it's going to do that to, again, 268 cubes. Now, by the way, because Tux did bring it up, if you didn't want to do a fireball, what if you just wanted to do a circle of fire, a patch of fire on the ground? This would be a circle, and that would be 1,256 square feet. So 1256 divided by 25 because they're square feet. That would come out to 50 squares, which I think is about fair. So if we did 50 squares, then that would also take this down. It would be 8. Well, let's see. The range would be 40, so that's going to be a flat number. And 2 plus 50 is simple. That's just 100. So it'd be 108 plus... So yeah, I'm just going to say 108. And then we need, or it's going to be 18 more points. And perhaps that should also be multiplicative. I'm not sure. But we didn't multiply it on the other one, so I'm not going to multiply it here. So it's going to be 18, or 108 plus 18 is going to be... let's see. It's going to be 116, 126. So there you go. That's just to light a 20-foot radius patch of ground on fire. That means that if you want to do like a full fireball to destroy the entire room, well, let's look at the implications of this. So it is possible to draw more power than you can safely handle in the Wheel of Time. It's not recommended because the end results are bad no matter what you do. If you overexert yourself, you can exhaust yourself. This is no different than exhaustion in any other circumstance. And we have rules for exhaustion. Let's see. Can I just get to it from here? Equipment, magic items, game mastering? No. Wait, no, here we go. Conditions. So, B, D, E. Exhausted. Okay. So, it goes hand in hand with fatigue. So, a fatigue character can neither run nor charge and takes a -2 penalty on strength and dexterity. So, we could say that if you run yourself out of stamina, you would be fatigued. If you go negative on your stamina, you could be exhausted. But then, well, then we get into really bad territory where if you were to push yourself to the point where, and I'm going to borrow from Starjammer here. In Starjammer, starships, when they hit 0 hit points, aren't destroyed. In Starjammer, a ship doesn't blow up until it is negative hit points equal to its maximum hit points. Similarly, in Pathfinder, you don't die until your HP equals your Constitution score negative. I'm going to borrow from that and say that you can exhaust yourself until your stamina is negative equal to your maximum. At which point, one of two things is probably going to happen. I will probably have you roll something akin to like, I don't know, maybe a D12. And say on a 1 through, or well, yeah. Say on like a 7 through 12, you're fine. On a 3 through 6, you burn yourself out. And on a 1 or a 2, you're simply dead. So let me just write that down. So at negative max stamina, roll 1d12. 7 through 12, safe. 3 through 6, burn out. 1, 2, dead. Now, why is this important? This is important because if I were to try and cast this fireball that costs 570 points, I would most assuredly be dead. It would take up the 110 points that I had. It would send me negative to 110, then negative to 220, then negative again to 330. I'm just going to go ahead and roll 3 d12s and see who's dead. Three d12s. I've got a 3, a 4, and an 11. I am absolutely burned out. No more 1 power for me. Now, for Tux. If Tux was to throw this fireball costing 570 points, then this fireball is going to run Tux completely out of stamina. Gonna blow right past the fatigue stage and right into the exhausted stage. However, it's not going to run Tux anywhere near the point to becoming burned out. I mean, Tux would still have like 300 more points to go. JP, on the other hand, after throwing this fireball, JP is going to make this fireball, throw the damn thing, murder an entire group of people, and be wondering why everyone stopped fighting already. Because Tux is going to have power to spare. At the same time, remember we had the Angreal and Sa-Angreal. So Angreal and Sa-Angreal. Actually, let's see, come down here. So our Angreal, if I recall, was an 80% and a 160%. Ooh, not that. So yeah, JP just says if we burned out, we become disabled. No, not entirely. And Tuxedo says if JP throws a fireball, then yes, I would be disabled. All right, so we've got these Angreal. That means that if we were to go ahead and boost this, I'm going to go ahead and move this stuff down. Just so I have a little bit of room to work here. So we're going to go with my Angreal, JP, Angreal, Tux, Angreal. And we'll do the same thing for the other one. My Sa-Angreal, I'm just going to put SA. JP, SA, Tux, SA, because I don't want to retype it every time. So, from here, we can just say my Angreal stamina, JP, Angreal stamina, Tux, Angreol, Stamina. My, SA, Stamina. JP, SA, Stamina. And Tux, SA, Stamina. Fun times abound. So, for some quick math, where's my calculator? Bring that back. So, again, we already did mine. My potential is only a 10, so me with an Angreol just is an 18. Very easy. I also go up to a 26 with a Sa Angreol. JP, we calculated you before, but I forget. So, it's going to be 60 times 1.8 is 108. And for this, it's going to be 60 plus 60 times 1.6. That is 120. And then for Tux, that's 43 times 1.8, 77. And then with a Sa Angreol, that's going to be 43 plus 43 times 1.6. It's going to be 111. 112. Let's round it up. Tux says, oh, angry all. That's what you're saying. I do believe people named Al tend to be formidable when they're angry. Actually, can't argue with that one. So we can see how it multiplies. So with an Angreol that boosts up to 80% of your power, you can see that your power goes up quite a bit. Which means that now, when we look at these things, if you were to be holding an Angreol, mine is an 11 times 18, which brings me up to 198, which is still relatively weak. And even with a Sa Angreol, a 286. For JP having an 18 Constitution, which is just absolutely monstrous. That is 18 times 108, which comes out to 1,944. Or with a Sa Angreol, times 120 comes out to 2,160. And for Tux, so Tux is going to be a Constitution of 11 times 77, which is a very respectable 847. Or for 11 times 112, a 1232. So we have a pretty direct correlation here, or a pretty direct, not correlation, comparison of normal with an Angreol and with a Sa Angreol. With a Sa Angreol, almost everyone's power everyone's power is literally doubled because it goes above 100%. It also still means that even with a Sa Angreol, I could not throw that fireball. It would simply be beyond me. Again, the Wheel of Time is not fair. Some things are just going to be beyond you. And some things that are beyond you may be easy for other people. Taking a look at JP. JP with a Sa Angreol could throw 4 of those things and keep going. He'd be, tired afterwards, but he could throw 4 of those fireballs. Maybe 5. No, definitely 5. He'd be exhausted afterwards, but he could throw 5 of them. 6 of them, maybe. So that's how the whole Angreal and Sa-Angreal thing are going to work. Now, obviously, Tur-Angreal, they actually perform functions. They're going to be the close equivalent to, like, actual magic items you'd pick up in a fantasy game. But yeah, I think this is a good magic system. So over here, we're going to change this to times. It's also going to encourage you to be, you know, a little bit more restrained with the 1 power. Because you could throw this massive fireball, but do you really need to? When it comes to things like a chain will probably end up being 2 points per square. But it'll have the ability to literally reach around corners and such things. Whether it be a chain of fire, a chain of ice, whatever. I think it'll be capable of, you know, flowing as you wish it to, but it'll be more expensive. So, range is going to be that. But we're going to put an asterisk here because a chain will be 2 points per. I'll just keep that in mind. I'll write it down later. I'll have to clean up a lot of this because I just made a whole bunch of notes on this and they don't really mean anything. But yeah, there we go. I think this is pretty good for a start. It's not complete, but it's a good start. One other thing that we're going to have to work on is going to be actual strength in which powers. And how that's going to affect things. So when we talk about we got stamina, then there's going to be strength. And when we're talking strength, it's got to be strength in fire, water, air, earth, spirit. And what I think we're going to end up doing is maybe giving either additional power or power discounts for strength in a certain ability. I don't know. What do you think? Would you rather have discounts or would you rather have additional strength? Because I'll have to kind of leave that one up to you. I can go either way, personally. I don't mind it. So I'll let you answer that one because there's always a delay when it comes to broadcasting like this. I'm gonna get a drink real quick. JP says Aja specialties would come into play here. No, they wouldn't, actually. No, they wouldn't. Actually, this comes before the Aja specialties. No. This is going to be different. So the idea here is simple. Men in general are stronger when it comes to fire and earth. Women, water and air, both are going to be spirits. So what we're going to have here is we're going to say that on a scale of 1 to 100, okay, we're just going to go 1 to 100. So 1d, 100. I'm just going to bring that all the way down. Everybody is going to have certain skill in these abilities. What's going to change, however, is that this is going to have advantage men, advantage women, advantage women. I'm just going to put ADV. Advantage men. And then nobody gets an advantage on spirit. Come on. I can type. I swear I can. I did learn how to. And advantage will be the same thing as we're familiar when it comes to things like 5e. Roll twice, take the better result. And so if we were going to do this, I would say, if we wanted to do my profile, we would say that I'm going to be a channeler. And honestly, at the point that we're playing, it probably won't matter to distinguish between Saidin or Saidar. It shouldn't really matter in the game. All that will matter is that, you know, one sex cannot see what the other sex is doing. That's all that really matters. So, my strength. So, fire, water, air, earth, spirit. Then I would simply roll 5d100s. And see what we get. So my spread is going to be 76, 2, 24, 82, 36. Wow. Like the ones that I could have really used rerolls on. And of course, because I do get advantage on fire and earth, I get one extra roll for those. Hard numbers to beat, though. I got a 2 and a 74. None of those beat, so this is what I'm stuck with. So those would be my skills. I'm really awesome when it comes to fire and earth. Didn't even need rerolls to do it. But since we already did this before, and I kind of want to do it again, why don't we try that again? Just for funsies. So JP is going to be go away, stupid Windows stuff. Go away. God damn. I hate Windows. I really do. So JP is going to be a 16, 18, 25, 18, and 78. On rerolls, however, gonna go to an 83 for fire, and for earth, a 10. So no change there. So there's JP's strengths. As for Tux, Tux is looking pretty good with a 50, 58, 38, 36, and 82. And on rerolls, a 5 and a 6. So, not getting any help there. Oh, scroll the spreadsheet down a bit. My bad. I tell you what, since we're not really using the browser at all right now, we'll do that. There we go. So there would be a spread of powers to work with. Strengthen the one power. Now again, really kind of matters, what is this going to benefit anybody? In general, I think it should be a power discount. Just because, you know, the amount of power being spent is kind of high in terms of numbers. And because, in general, what we see in the books is the stronger somebody is when it comes to channeling, the more of it they can do. So perhaps if we did, say, maybe a discount? What if we went with a half of their power as a discount? Round it up. So for a fireball is pretty much just going to be a combination of fire and air. So if the fireball itself costs 570, that means that my discount, JP discount, Tux discount. That's as opposed to a discount Tux. I got one of those once. It wasn't as good as the real thing. So for fire and air, for me, half of 76 is going to be 38. Half of 24 is going to be 12. So 38 plus 12 is going to be 50. So because of my skill with these things, perhaps I get a 50% discount. JP's discount for fire is going to be, let's see, 82. 82 is going to be 41. Air is going to be also 24, 12. So 41 plus 12, 51, 53. And then Tux's discount for fire and air is going to be 25 and 16? No, 19. So 25 and 19. It's going to be 24, 44. Which means that the final cost for all of this, once it got done, so 570 divided by 2, because I got a 50% discount, would be 285 for JP. Would be 302, and for Tux or wait, I think I did that backwards. Tux is going to be 376. I'm going to double check that one. Okay, yeah, I did that wrong. JP is actually 245. I say bigger discount than me, but somehow can't with a higher number. Meaning that somebody who had enough strength in either air or fire could potentially, you know, just cast fireballs all day. And suddenly that means that casting a giant fireball like we see people do in the books is a lot more feasible. I mean, I kind of think this is a really good idea. What do you think? Let me know what you think about this, because I like it. I think this works out pretty well. Yeah, I like this. This works out well. Okay. I mean, it's still kind of a lot for people to keep track of. I can definitely understand why people might not want to play this. JPS, can I keep these stats from when we play this? Okay, first off, I don't know when we're ever going to get around to playing this. I mentioned this in the Discord earlier, but somebody asked me. It's like, so when you get done with all of these modules, exactly what are you going to do with all of them? It's like, I don't know. The only feasible option I'm going to have is to maybe start a second YouTube channel. And I'm going to have to get people together who I think can handle running a game. I'm just going to pass out the... I'll pass out the module and say, you're running a Wheel of Time, you're running Doom, you're running a Pokemon game, and then we'll just record all of them, and we'll post them on a secondary channel, and we'll put out even more tabletop content than like Critical Role does, or any of those other guys. Like, there's a channel out there called Mini Wargaming. They do nothing but tabletop battle reports from various games, mostly Warhammer, but they do Star Wars, Star Trek, they do all kinds of stuff. Well, more content than they will. It'll be a different game every day. JP says that sounds like a social experiment. How is that? What, me just grabbing people and saying, here, run this game? I mean, I guess it could be a social experiment. Sure, there's some ethical implications there, but if I don't tell anybody, you won't, right? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and delete this. I don't need this. Same thing with this over here. We don't need this. Oh, I agree. It sounds like a ton of fun. We don't need this. I think this is a pretty good proof of concept. I'll go ahead and make an example for the module. Because it'll definitely need some kind of example or demonstration. But yeah, I think this is pretty good. So, is there anything that we're missing here? We've got the ability to determine who can channel and who cannot. Once we've determined that they can channel, first we get their overall potential, how strong they can possibly be. Then, we go ahead and determine how much stamina they have based upon their constitution and their potential, which means that as you level up, like on every 4th level you get an ability point. If you add to your constitution, your stamina for using the 1 power goes up, which means you could be like a ranger or something who would normally want to prioritize, say, their dexterity for their ability to shoot a bow or to dodge, you know, dangers and stuff. Maybe their intelligence or maybe their wisdom. But if you happen to also be a channeler, you might say, Yeah, I could really use that bonus on my base attack bonus for aiming. But one more point in Constitution means one more, or a little bit more stamina for channeling. It could be fun. Could be really fun. Tuck says, what do we roll when the Scion rolls to seduce? We don't have a Scion. We have bards. And I guess it depends on which way the seduction is going. Are you the one trying to be seduced? You don't need to roll anything. Just let me know whether you're seduced or not. If you're trying to seduce them, however, that's a pretty straight charisma check. There is no skill for seduction, believe it or not. It's just your straight charisma. Can you do it? No bonuses, no nothing. Oh, it also is usually countered by their bluff, so they always get an advantage versus seduction. Every time. Or no, not bluff. Sense motive. It's their sense motive versus your straight charisma. The odds are not in your favor. Okay, so, the only thing I think I really need to add here... I feel like this still needs to be worked on a bit, but I'm not sure how. I'm not sure if this should be per square, because I feel like it should be per square. Otherwise, we could have somebody like JP literally throwing 200 dice at something. Which, I mean, while it would be fun once, I think when he manages to blow out the foundations of a castle and the entire castle collapses in on the party, I think people are going to be upset. So the strength part of this may take some tweaking. Tux just says that assumes that they're not down, which is, to be fair, the vast majority of targets the bard is attempting to seduce. No, it's literally all the targets of the seduce, because everybody in the world knows the bard has chlamydia and nobody wants it. Nobody wants to talk about it, but everybody knows it. And nobody wants it. Alright, well, I can't think of much else to add here. This would take a little bit of testing, but I think we could make this work. I'm going to do a little bit of testing on my own, just making up a few random characters and applying this template to them to see what they can do. I'll also go ahead and run a couple of scenarios and see how well it plays out. Just to kind of, you know, get things on paper and say, does this actually work in a combat situation? I mean, getting this to work in like a normal situation, I don't think is a big deal. You'll have to keep track of some low numbers. Like if you want to light a torch, you'll need to establish, you know, first off, how far away is it? That's about it. Like a torch will cost you 1 point for the area, and then 1 point for the function because you're lighting something. And at that point, it's just a matter of, are you holding the torch or are you trying to light a torch on the other side of the room? Like if you wanted to walk into a room and light every single torch in the room. So you you swing open the doors, you open yourself to the power, or you seize the power, whichever gender you happen to be, and you want to light every torch in the room. So you measure out the distance to every single torch, and it'll cost you all the range plus 1 point per torch. And yeah, you just have to keep track of that. I think this is going to work. So, with all of that done, I don't think there's anything left for us to do on this stream today. I'm going to have to go through and clean this up. I'll make a proper sheet out of this. Something that actually looks, you know, at least amateur. Definitely not going to say professional. It's probably never going to look professional, but I can at least make it look like somebody did this when they weren't high on meth. Tux says, can't argue with that logic. Even if the target is undead, the bard's rod is so strong the undead don't even want it. Even the zombie doesn't want your brains because it knows it's got chlamydia. And it's like, brains! Brains! Not yours. It's like, what? But I didn't... No. Wizard! Brains! And the bard's just sitting off in the corner sobbing. He's the only person still alive in the party because even the zombies don't want him. He gets back to town and it's like, how did you survive? I don't want to talk about it. Can we go back there? No. Fun times. Fun times. Alright, well, I think I'm going to wrap up the stream here. This has been fun. It's been productive. I have no idea what we're doing next week, but I don't think there's a whole lot more we can do here. We do still need to make an Ogier race. Maybe we'll save that for next time. We'll save any polishing that needs to be done in this for next time. And when we come back, we'll do Ogier. And maybe a few other things, like, perhaps we also need a template for, like, the Aiel. That's... I think I might actually put that on here. Aiel are not technically another race, but they are different enough that they might require their own sub-race. And Tux says productive. I don't know about that. No, it's totally productive. Look what we did here. Nobody understands it, but, you know, we did something. It's not Shakespeare, but it's over... It's under Shakespeare, but it's over monkeys on a typewriter. Okay? It's somewhere in that gray area there. So, yeah. We'll leave it here. We'll come back next time. We'll do the Ogier. We'll do the Aiel. Because the Aiel will have a lot of special... they will have a lot of special features and a lot of restrictions. Kind of like druids aren't allowed to pick up metal weapons. Yeah, Aiel are going to be like barred from using pretty much anything. Like, Aiel by default will not have a swim check. Just because they don't. Aiel will not be allowed to use things like swords. Or anything like that. Longbows? Right out. In fact, they're pretty much just restricted to short spears, short bows, knives. That's about it. They also don't ride horses, so they have like no riding check and no swim check. On the plus side, though, they all get endurance for free. Maybe an advanced endurance. I don't know yet. I don't know. We'll investigate it next time. So, if you've enjoyed this stream, make sure you leave a like on it. I put a like on it. I like me. I hope you like me too. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already, but I mean, everybody here right now has already done so. Hit the bell in case you haven't done so already. It does work. I've been assured that it does work. If you know somebody else who enjoys the Wheel of Time or they like tabletop gaming, share this video with them. Especially since, we're going to come back and do more of the same next week. And otherwise, just leave a comment down below, especially if you think there's something I missed. If you think there's something we still need to add here. Oh, we need to add Terangrial too, now that I think about it. Terangrial shouldn't be that hard, because we just really need to add the form, function, all this stuff into the Terangrial, and then it only does the one thing. So yeah, we need to do Ogier, Aiel, Terangrial, whatever else you can think of that we might need. Leave it in the comments. I'll read the comments later and add them to the list. So, I've enjoyed this. I hope you have too. I look forward to seeing you back here next week for the next stream. And I guess until then, take care.